Alright, what are some yellow flags that you look for in players and DMs? Let us know down in the comments below. All my past groups have been terrible. I've never made it more than 4 sessions at one table. Shit's rough out there. A lot of antisocial behavior in TTRPGs. Scheduling stuff is hard. And also, last game I ran, I had one of those players. Oh, they were so enthusiastic, seemed great in session 0. But as soon as we started playing, the raging main character syndrome became immediately obvious. They really seemed to think they were playing a single-player NPC party-style game. Fascinating! Intervened gently during the first game, pausing them and asking other players what they thought, hoping with enough early guidance they'd settle in. Nope. Alas, even with a strong talking to, they once again didn't make it past 4 sessions at a table. Booted in the middle of the second. A player who immediately jumps to play edgy or problematic characters, even if they don't stick to it. A DM who seems to enjoy hurting the characters more than making a story. Literally anybody who won't engage in communication properly. They clearly aren't happy with something but will say otherwise. Won't talk about something that other players have a problem with, is drinking, looking at phone, won't remember anything, so on and so forth. If they smelled like spoiled cheese. Hold on. I smell like Old Spice. Does that count? Player. I have a character all ready to go for a campaign that hasn't been explained yet. DM. Your backstory says you are trying to clear your family name, so I'm using your backstory. To have dwarves from another continent somehow know of my human family name so they can taunt me and throw things at me, if not put me in jail as the DM did every single week for a year until I left. People who talk about their previous games they've played in where they have accomplished things as a DM, I would never have even considered asking a roll for and just saying, haha, there's literally no chance. Hearing a DM talk about giving out a homebrew item to players that would completely break a campaign. Like a legendary weapon to a 4th level character or something that more or less turns one player into the main character. Hearing a DM who likes to play with the party a lot by having them travel with a leveled up PC they create to join the party with for extended durations. People who want to tame every monster or beast they come across, or try to mount every creature to do something hilarious. Is that a bard joke? People who want to reuse old characters. Often, not always, they're too attached to old lore. I always play... Insert anything. It hints at possible inflexibility. Backstories that involve being the best at something. Not being able to let other people have their moments. Having to win every interaction or scenario. Not being able to fail at something. Thinking that rolling a natural one means something on saves or ability checks. Wanting to Mother May I effects of items and spells. On virtual tabletops, I've had this experience often. It gets to their turn in combat, their name is announced, and there is a pause while they switch tabs, put down their phone, and try to figure out the situation. Usually with a filler word like, okay. Now, it's a yellow flag because it's flexible, and we've all had days where we're distracted, but it becomes a red flag if it keeps happening after they've been talked to. When a player comes in and the first thing out of his mouth or hers is, I have a great idea for a homebrew, blah, 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 blah. I would like you to try. I'm pretty hard to scare off. One time, a DM told my girlfriend she could not roleplay as a male. His motivation being, you can't ever know what it's like to be a man. Needless to say, the acquaintance was brief, and likewise, the game. Coming in with a character idea before learning about the game world or other details about the game. Obviously, this can vary wildly. I myself technically did this once, but the concept was as broad as wizard who ran away from his tiger dad to study magic. As the idea gets more specific and or detailed though, it becomes more of a sign that the player is A, selfish and concerned with their own personal storyline, and B, not interested in your world as a GM. The obvious extreme is the player who shows up with a 30-page backstory where they're clearly someone who is way more important than they should be at the start of the campaign. But there's a lot of lesser versions of that which would still qualify as yellow flags. I carry this strange yellow flag with me when I was a DM. For some reason, I have no idea what causes this, players tend to come to the conclusion that one of the players is a traitor that will betray the others, and I planned that. Which has happened exactly never, but it happened in multiple groups and multiple systems. I just passively caused the players to distrust each other. That's actually kind of a unique trait. I like that. They jump in to correct people about the rules, even cutting people off mid-sentence to do it, especially if it's never beneficial and always works against the player. Players who do this will often annoy the table to no end, which can be frustrating during the tensest of moments of the game. Behavior like that is hard to curb in-game without treating them like a child. Excuse me, Player A, but it's Player B's turn right now, so it's good to catch early. A DM who forces their story path or minds that sometimes 75% of the prep doesn't get used. A player who loses interest during someone else's turn. It's okay to prep what you're going to do, but not to distract the others or go use the phone or TV. If they come in with a very specific character idea before any lore has been provided, especially if it's a character they have played before, usually they'll refuse to have their characters experience any growth or change during the campaign and be a horror for the other players, since they'll get upset if characters don't interact with their precious OC, which stands for original character for anyone who doesn't know, correctly. Players who try to min-max. I always put game balance at the first and foremost of my priority list, for better or for worse, so players who intentionally take advantage of the game's mechanics to make themselves very powerful are iffy to me. This is especially the case if it's only one or some of the players and not all of them. I can't upscale the encounters or else I risk killing the non-min-maxed players. Definitely not a red flag because they are going by all the rules and are not intentionally trying to ruin anyone else's experience, but is still yellow. Players who forcefully advise other players what to do, enlighten them about their skills, weapons, and items. Just let the other players play what they want, damn it. Also, personal yellow flag. That type of player who picks edgy, teen-looking, black-haired, pale characters with tragic and full of mysteries backstories. Get out, vampire boy. For DM, I love Critical Role. It didn't start off as a flag at all. Unfortunately, I've met a lot of CR fans who don't know how to play, aren't interested in learning the rules, and think being edgy and abusive is peak DMing. Now, it's become a watch list situation for me. For players, these would be read from the DM, saying, I'm not into that min-maxing bullshit, when anyone at the table talks about how their spells or features might work with someone else's. My character is so OP. Pretty much everyone I've heard say this unironically has been playing something devastatingly underpowered. People who use build to talk about their characters. It's not an innately bad thing to talk about, but to me, it has often, in times past, been used by players who think of D&D like a video game instead of a role-playing game. I try not to judge, but it does concern me, especially as a DM when someone says, I'm a Druid 6, Fighter 3, Rogue 2, Warlock 1. And if you try to bring up or mention my patron, I'm going to scream at you. I play online. There was one person in our group who was referred by another player. We asked our fellow player the guy's name. Oh, he doesn't want me giving that information out. Alright, we could just ask him later then. Eventually he joins and I ask his name and he says something snarky like, what, you can't read? And I'm like, no, not your screen name, your people name. And he says he doesn't give that out because he values his privacy. But like, I didn't ask his full name, I don't know most of those people's full names. Just their first. Kinda rubbed me the wrong way. call me old-fashioned, but if I'm voice chatting with someone every week, I'd rather not refer to them by their screen name, especially if it's a stupid pop culture reference. But I figured that's my hang-up, not his, so fuck it, there's no harm. Anyways, he eventually turned out to be that guy. First character he played is clinically insane. Reveres his bird familiar and attacks anyone who so much as looks at the bird the wrong way, but will command his bird to antagonize random strangers for the lulz. Then, when people try to bat the bird away, he goes berserk and kills them. First session, he got us all run out of the city we started in. Some more insane behaviors from this character, but just kind of little stuff. But the kind of stuff that made me think, why is my character traveling with this person? Second character he played was a raging asshole who constantly antagonized NPCs and PCs as well. In character, calls my PC useless because I didn't have a spell that would solve our problem at the moment. And when my PC calls him out on it, he goes, well, I'm a military man, so if you're not of use to me, that makes you useless. And I pushed back and said, well, what's your solution? And since he didn't have one, I said, well, I guess you're useless too. He flies into a rage, not a barbarian rage, just a thematic one, and starts attacking my character. I had spoken to the DM about this guy, but the DM wouldn't do anything about him, so eventually I just left. Later on, the DM is messaging me that she finally got rid of the guy. Apparently, the rest of the table was feeling similar, and it all culminated in him fireballing a shopkeeper. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Anyway, if I don't have a person's first name, I don't play with them anymore. It's hard to describe the kind of guy, but I'm sure at least some of you have played with them. Divorced, 10, 20 years older than everybody else at the table, brings a multi-pack of Doritos but then eats them all himself, wears a lot of leather, acts like the main character, constantly brings up anecdotes about all the cool shit he does, but none of them are even remotely believable. I had one DM who was absolutely too nice, and she picked up these players like strays at every convention. She'd bring her new friends into our campaigns, and that would 100% of the time be the beginning of the end. Had a player on session 0 pick up the player's handbook and say, who actually reads this? Lol. And tossed it back on the table. He played a druid and said he wanted to be on the back line during combat. Guess what he did every turn? Haha, that's right. He pulled out his scimitar and with his 12 AC ran into melee and got wrecked over and over. Also had a player declare that it was established that their PC was allowed to entirely derail the campaign if they choose to. It was never discussed nor agreed upon by anybody. They never did try to derail it, but I guess it made them feel important. Okay. Whenever someone's first backstory idea is being this mega powerful guy who did a bunch of insane shit in the past, because I have had this kind of backstory 5 times with 5 different players, and they all made the game into their weird power fantasy of murdering goblins and got pissed whenever something negative happened to their character. One guy had gotten hit with a fire spell point blank, and I said, maybe you could give your character a cool scar. And they looked like I had insulted his family line. And they then proceeded to lose interest, which is fine. But instead of telling me, they just didn't show up to sessions we had planned before, and they signed off on for the time for 7 months. Then we just kicked them and went on with our lives, and the campaign was a lot more fun after. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below what are some yellow flags you look for in players and DMs. Or yourself, if you have any. It's okay to have a problem here and there. That said, we love you all. Please be safe, happy, and healthy. And if you ever want to join our membership, we would appreciate that too. Toodaloo, see you next time.